I want you to do something for me right now. It's going to sound a little weird, but just humor me for a second. I want you to look around the room you're sitting in right now.
Just take a second and actually look.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the wall, look at the texture of the chair armrest, look at your own hand resting on the table. It feels solid, right? It feels completely undeniable. The wall is there, the chair is holding you up.
It certainly feels that way. I mean, our senses are constantly confirming that reality is this hard, fixed thing that exists totally outside of us.
Right. But here is the question that is going to absolutely haunt us for the next hour or so.
Yeah.
What if none of that is actually outside of you? What if everything from that coffee cup on your desk to the traffic jam you were stuck in this morning is just a projection?
Like a literal hologram generated by your internal state.
Exactly. And I know it sounds like the premise of a sci-fi movie or maybe like a glitch in a video game, but this is actually the core argument of the material we are diving into today.
It really is. We are looking at a transcript of a very intense, very metaphysical discussion between two speakers, Muqaddas Pekin Bashtil and Supal C.
And before you roll your eyes and think we're about to chant and talk about toxic positivity, we really need to clarify what this is. This isn't just think positive thoughts and you'll get a pony.
No, not at all. It's a full-blown technical breakdown. They call it quantum manifestation, but they're mixing it with some really heavy ancient concepts from Sufi mysticism, which is tasawwuf and modern psychology.
It's a framework that basically claims we can find the cheat codes to the simulation we call life.
It's a very distinct metaphysical framework, you're right. They aren't suggesting that positive thinking is just a mood booster. They are arguing that your consciousness is the mechanical engine that renders physical reality.
The engine that renders it. I love that phrasing.
Thanks. And the mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly how they believe this mechanism works. We're going to look at their definition of the conscious versus the subconscious, the concept of the robot self.
And this radical, honestly, somewhat controversial idea that other people are just mirrors.
Yes, the mirror principle. That's a huge part of it.
I am so ready to unpack this, but I'll admit I'm also coming in with my skepticism radar fully on.
Sure.
Because if they are right, even partially right, it changes absolutely everything about how we go through our day.
So let's just start at the very foundation. The source material opens with this mind-bending concept about the architecture of reality.
Right. The foundational claim here is really about the limits of perception. The source states, quite explicitly actually, that this world is only as big as my perception.
They use the room analogy, right? Like the world is currently just the room I am sitting in.
Exactly. Supal C argues that if you are in a room, that room is your entire world in that moment. Everything else, the street outside, your office, your childhood home, the Eiffel Tower, currently exists only as potential. It's in what they call the unseen realm.
Okay, let's pause there because that is trippy. It's like a video game. When you're playing an open world game, the console doesn't render the whole map at once because that would crash the system.
Right. It only renders the cone of vision in front of the character. When you turn around, the world behind you literally disappears into code until you look back.
That is a very fitting analogy and one that physicists invoke often, honestly. The source distinguishes between two realms. There is the unseen, or the subconscious, what they call bilinçaltı in Turkish, which is a field of infinite possibilities.
Sort of like the void.
Yes, in Sufi terms, they refer to this as the nothingness or the void. And then there's the seen realm, or madi, which translates to matter. That's the physical dimension where we experience the results.
And the bridge between these two, the thing that turns the code into the game, is focus.
Correct. Focus and energy.
And the example they gave in the text, it wasn't a Ferrari or $1 million. It was a cup, a simple coffee cup.
It's a brilliant example because it's so mundane. She holds up a cup. To you and me, that's ceramic. It holds coffee. It has weight. But she stops the room and says, this is not a cup. This is collapsed energy.
Collapsed energy. Okay, we need to unpack that term because that's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It sounds cool, but what does it actually mean in this context?
She's referencing the observer effect in quantum mechanics. Before you look at the cup, or before you intend for the cup to exist, it exists only as a wave function.
Meaning it's just a possibility.
Exactly. It's a cloud of probability. It could be a cup, it could be a bowl, it could be nothing. It is uncollapsed.
It's the Schrodinger's cat scenario. The cat is both dead and alive until you open the box.
Precisely. And she's applying that physics principle to macro reality. She's saying that the cup is only hard and physical because your consciousness, your focus, has pinned it down into that state. In the source text, she calls this the transition from mana, which means meaning or spirit, to mad, which means matter.
So the wave is the potential, and the particle is the reality we actually experience.
Yes, and here's the killer insight from the text. That wave doesn't collapse randomly. It collapses based on expectation. Right. If you expect a world where you can't find good coffee, your brain, specifically a network called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS, will literally filter out the coffee shops. It won't render the cup for you.
The RAS. Okay, this totally clicked for me when I was reading. It's like when you decide you want to buy a red Jeep, suddenly the entire highway is full of red Jeeps.
They were always there.
Right, but your brain was filtering them out as irrelevant noise.
Exactly. She argues that by creating the model in the mind, the system, meaning reality, rearranges probabilities to bring that object into your physical experience. You think you are just seeing a cup, but the source argues you are manifesting it by collapsing all other possibilities where the cup didn't exist.
So we're constantly doing this. We're basically manifestation machines.
Every single second. The text uses the word pizahur. It implies bringing something from the unseen into the seen. It's not a special ritual you do once a year with candles. It is the very nature of existence. You focus on a black boot, you see black boots, you focus on a cup, you get a cup.
Okay, I'm following the logic here. I am the observer. I collapse the wave. I create the cup. I am a reality-generating machine. But that leads to a really uncomfortable question.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
If I'm the one creating my reality, why on earth would I create a traffic jam? Why would I manifest a rude boss or a bad breakup or a tax audit? Nobody consciously chooses that. So is the theory broken? Or am I just a glutton for punishment?
The theory holds, but it adds a terrifying layer. You are creating it, but you, with the capital Y, the conscious part of you that wants a nice day, aren't the one at the controls.
So whose?
A program. The source introduces a concept called the robot self, or robot serpal, as the speaker refers to herself. Imagine you bought a supercomputer, that's your consciousness, but it came preloaded with a virus from 1995. That virus is the robot.
This is where it gets a little dark, actually. They talk about the data source for this robot, and it's basically a garbage dump.
A mental garbage dump, to use their exact phrasing.
Yeah.
The source argues that the personality you think is you, your preferences, your fears, your reactions, is actually a collection of other people's codes.
Yeah, they listed them out. Fears from your parents, traumas from childhood, scenes you watched in a scary movie, even just random gossip you heard from a neighbor.
Just imagine that. You have a fear of failure. Is it yours? Or is it a code your father uploaded into your hard drive when you were 7? You have a fear of walking down dark streets. Is that yours? Or is it a scene from a crime drama you watched 10 years ago? The robot doesn't know the difference. It just executes the code.
And so the robot creates reality based on that junk data. It collapses the waves into scary scenarios because that's what the software expects to happen.
Precisely. And the source uses a cooking analogy here that I found very helpful to explain how we mess this up. The sugar in the cake.
Oh, I liked this one. I'm a baker, so this really spoke to me. Lay it out for us.
So imagine your life is a cake. You have all the ingredients for a perfect life paradise, essentially. Flour, eggs, butter. But you mess up the dosage.
The emotion.
Right, emotions are the sugar. A little bit makes the cake sweet, it makes life enjoyable. But if you dump the whole bag of sugar in, you completely ruin the cake. The source argues that excessive emotion, even positive emotion like obsessive attachment, but especially negative emotions like anger, jealousy, or fear, distorts the reality you are baking.
Wait, so even being too excited is bad?
In this specific framework, yes. Because excess implies a lack of balance. If you are desperate for something or manic about it, you are vibrating at a frequency of instability. But usually, we ruin the cake with the salt of anger or the vinegar of resentment.
So when I get super angry at the traffic, I'm basically dumping a cup of salt into my reality cake.
And then you are surprised when the cake tastes salty. The robot reacts with anger, which creates a frequency of anger, which manifests more things to be angry about. It's an infinite loop.
So the awakening they talk about, that's just realizing there's a robot.
That is the first step. It's the moment of metacognition. You look at your own mind, you look at that angry thought, and you ask, is this thought actually mine? Or is this a program running? The moment you ask that, you are no longer the robot. You are the observer of the robot.
Which brings us to the most challenging and honestly the most controversial part of this entire deep dive, the mirror principle.
They are not they.
Yeah. This part made me put the transcript down and just walk around the room for a minute. The source claims, and they are very firm on this, that there is no them.
It's a radical solipsism, but with a spiritual twist. They claim that other people are simply mirrors reflecting your own vibration and internal codes.
The analogy is simple enough. If you smile at a mirror, the reflection smiles back. If you frown, it frowns. You don't get mad at the mirror for frowning. You change your face.
But applying that to human relationships is where it gets incredibly difficult.
Right. And I really want to push back on this immediately because it sounds dangerous. Let's look at the Asha example from the text first, and then I have some serious questions.
So, the scenario of the text is this. You haven't called your friend Aisha in a while, and inside you feel guilty. You have this internal dialogue running, saying, oh, I should have called her. She's going to be mad. I'm a bad friend.
That's the code, the guilt code.
Exactly. You are holding the vibration of guilt. So when you finally pick up the phone and call Aisha, what happens? She scolds you. She says, why didn't you call me? You never make time for me.
And normally we'd say, wow, Aisha's being demanding.
But the source says, no. Aisha's only acting out the script you wrote for her. Your guilt created the frequency that forced Aisha to play the role of the accuser.
That is wild. They're saying if I didn't feel guilty, if I called her with pure love and zero attachment to the shoulds, she wouldn't have scolded me.
That is exactly the claim. If you remove the guilt, Aisha's behavior changes. Or, if she does complain, it simply doesn't register with you as an attack.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back on this. Because this sounds dangerously close to victim blaming. If someone screams at me, or worse, if someone is genuinely abusive, are you telling me I made them do that? That Aishi has no agency. That sounds incredibly toxic.
It's a very difficult pill to swallow, and you're entirely right to raise the ethical red flag. The source acknowledges this difficulty, though. They aren't saying you wanted to be yelled at. They aren't saying you deserve abuse. They are talking strictly about mechanical resonance.
Mechanical resonance. Explain that.
Think of it like a tuning fork. If you are vibrating at the note of guilt or victimhood or fear, you will mechanically trigger the accuser or aggressor string in everyone you meet. Aishi might be a lovely person usually, but your frequency activated a specific script in her. The source argues she is strictly a mirror in that moment.
So it's not a moral judgment, it's just physics.
In their view, yes. The system seeks equilibrium. If you bring fear, the system brings something to be afraid of to balance the equation.
So the system does this on purpose.
To wake you up. People annoy you, hurt you, or trigger you, specifically to show you what negative codes you are holding in your own field. Aish is a gift. She is showing you your hidden guilt so you can clean it up.
Okay, so if my boss is a tyrant,
It's reflecting a code inside you. Maybe a feeling of powerlessness, or a belief that authority figures are dangerous, or even just a deep lack of self-worth.
and if I clean that up, if I delete that code,
The mirror changes. Either the boss changes their behavior, which they argue happens more often than you'd think, or, and the source mentions this specifically, the boss simply leaves your reality. They get transferred, or you get a new job, because there is no longer a frequency match. You are on FM, they are on AM. You simply cannot connect.
this moves us perfectly into the physics of this whole concept because they talk a lot about frequency and vibration, and I want to understand how that actually applies to my commute.
They do. They treat it almost exactly like a radio dial.
They have this scale, right? High frequency versus low frequency.
It's a standard concept in this type of literature, but they explain it really well. Fear, anger, jealousy, these are dense, low frequencies. They are heavy. Love, acceptance, neutrality, these are high frequencies. They are light.
And the magnetism part is the key. They explain the law of attraction in a way that's actually kind of harsh. They say, you don't get what you want, you get what you are.
That is the vital distinction. You can sit there and want $1 million all day, but if your internal frequency is, I am poor and scared, you will manifest more poverty and fear, because reality is matching your state, not your wish list.
Let's look at the traffic scenario again, because I think this is where the rubber meets the road, pun intended.
Let's play this out. You're driving, someone cuts you off. What's your immediate, honest reaction?
Oh, full Italian grandmother, hand gestures, creative vocabulary, my blood pressure spikes. I'm writing a whole narrative in my head about how that guy is the worst human being on the planet and probably kicks puppies.
Right. And that feels justified. It feels good in the moment to be right. But the source says, in that exact moment, you just took a dropper full of black ink and squeezed it into a glass of crystal clear water.
The water being my vibration.
Your field of potential. You didn't just get mad at a car. You broadcasted a signal to the entire universe that says, I am in conflict mode. And because the universe is a yes machine.
It sends me more conflict.
Exactly. You'll hit every red light. The barista will get your order wrong. You'll step in a puddle.
Yeah.
You think it's just a bad day, But the source argues you are just walking through the cloud of ink you just released.
Okay, so that's reaction A, the unconscious reaction. What is reaction B, the conscious reaction?
You see the driver cut you off. You realize this is not personal. Maybe you even laugh. You stay in the observer mode. You don't drop that ink into your water.
You break the cycle right there.
You break the cycle. And because your frequency remains high and clear, you glide through the rest of the day.
But there's a trap here, isn't there? The duality trap. This is a nuance I hadn't heard before in these kinds of discussions. They warn against labeling things as good or bad.
This is a very Sufi concept,
Yeah.
the danger of duality. The source argues that even saying I am a very honest person is a trap.
Why? Being honest is good. My mom told me to be honest.
But by declaring I am honest and attaching a strong identity to it, you set up a pendulum swing. You are creating a potential. The system, to balance the energy or to test that claim, will send you dishonest people.
Oh, wow. So if I walk around saying, I never eat anyone's rights, I'm basically inviting a lawsuit.
In their view, yes.
Hmm.
Because you are creating a polarity. You are judging the dishonest as bad and resisting it. What you resist persists. You are focusing on dishonesty by claiming how honest you are.
So the solution is neutrality.
Neutrality. Staying in the observer mode, not judging the dishonest person, just observing them. Not puffing up your ego about your own honesty, just being it. It's about removing the emotional charge for the definitions.
Speaking of things that sound unbelievable, we have to talk about the balloon story.
This was quite the anecdote, yes.
It's a case study in what they call a glitch in the matrix. So set the scene for us.
The speaker describes being on a broadcast. It's a serious political discussion. The energy is heavy, tense, angry. People are arguing about the state of the world, the economy, the usual doom and gloom.
And suddenly,
Suddenly, she starts seeing colorful balloons floating around the room.
like real balloons.
To her perception, yes. She says it looked like a digital filter, but she perceived it as real. Floating, colorful balloons right in the middle of a serious political debate.
She thought she was hallucinating.
She wondered if it was a prank or an Instagram effect on a screen, but nobody else seemed to be reacting to it.
So how does she interpret this? Is she just losing it?
No, within the framework of the source, she interprets this as a literal frequency mismatch. She had internally detached from the heavy, angry political energy of the discussion. She wasn't vibrating at the frequency of the drama.
This sounds like a hallucination, frankly. But if we strip away the literal balloons, isn't this happening to us all the time?
It is. Think about a couple arguing.
Okay.
One partner is in a fear frequency. They hear every single word as a personal attack. The other partner might be in a logic frequency. They think they're just solving a practical problem. They're in the exact same room having the exact same conversation, but they are effectively in parallel dimensions.
And they can't reach each other.
They can't. The source argues that the speaker who saw the balloons had simply tuned her radio so far away from the political anger station that her brain had to fill the void with something else. It rendered joy. It rendered balloons.
So because she was vibrating at a playful or light frequency, her reality literally shifted. The system had to render something that matched her internal state. Since angry political debate didn't match her frequency anymore, the matrix glitched and gave her party balloons.
Exactly. It reinforces the room analogy we started with. Her room had balloons. The other speaker's room had anger. They were overlapping but completely distinct realities.
It makes you wonder what beautiful things are floating around me right now that I can't see because I'm too busy worrying about my email inbox.
That is the ultimate question. We are blind to the frequencies we do not embody.
Okay, so if we want to get to the balloon stage, if we want to manifest the good stuff, the source says we have to stop using the brain and start using the core, the heart.
Pure energy. This is a crucial distinction. They emphasize that the brain is just hardware. It's an interface. It's the processor. But the true power comes from the O's, the core, or the heart.
They say requests made from the heart manifest faster. Why is that?
Because the heart is connected to the 0 point, the divine, or Rab in their terminology. It doesn't have the resistance that the brain has. The brain has logic, doubt, fear, past data. The heart just is.
They gave the example of wanting a house. This was really helpful to distinguish between ego wanting and heart wanting.
Right. If you want a house because you want to feel safe, happy, and have a sanctuary for your family, that is pure energy. That's a heart request. It's clean. But if you want the house so you can post photos on Instagram, show off to your high school friends, and prove you're successful.
That's impure energy.
That's ego. That's the robot wanting validation. The source says the system, or divine intelligence, recognizes this impurity. It sees the arrogance or the insecurity behind the wish, and it blocks it or delays it significantly.
Because the sister isn't there to just give you stuff, it's there to help you grow. And giving your ego a mansion won't actually help you grow.
Exactly. It connects back to the divine. They link the core to the concept of Rab the sustainer. Clearing the mental garbage allows the voice of the divine or intuition to be heard clearly. It's like tuning out the static on a radio. When the static is gone, the signal is pure and the manifestation is instant.
Okay, this is all fascinating theory, but I need tools. The source actually gave some really specific practical advice on how to rewrite the script.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just skim this. I want to know exactly what to do when I'm losing my mind in traffic.
They did. It starts with a 3-step process for handling triggers.
Step 1, notice the trigger.
An emotion rises. Anger, jealousy, fear. You have to stop. Do not act. Do not let the robot take the wheel. This is the hardest part. The neuroscience says you have about 1/4 of a second to intervene before the chemical cascade takes over your body.
Okay, so I catch it. Step 2, cancel or delete.
This sounds almost too simple, but the source suggests literally saying cancel, or realizing out loud, this is not me, this is a program. You have to interrupt the neural pathway. Think of Hebb's law in psychology. Neurons that fire together, wire together. By interrupting the thought, you stop the wiring.
It's like hitting escape on the keyboard. And step 3, choose.
Replace the thought, but not just with a wish, with a definitive choice. This brings us to the language hacking section.
I love this part. The words we use actually matter physically. They hate the words must or should.
Mali or mali in Turkish, I must call Ayşe. I should work harder. These words create instant resistance. They imply a burden. They imply that if you don't do it, you are somehow bad. That creates a low frequency.
I do this all the time. I should go to the gym. And then I don't go, and I just sit there and feel guilty.
Because should implies resistance. It's an obligation, not a desire. So what do we swap them with?
I choose. Ciciorum.
I choose to experience this. I choose to call Aish. I choose to go to the gym. It reclaims your agency. It moves you from a victim of circumstance to a creator of reality.
And there was one more power word, easy, koleka.
Yes. I intend for this to happen easily. The source advises using this to bypass the brain's deep-seated belief that life is hard or no pain, no gain. You are telling the system, I want this result, and I want the path of least resistance to get there.
There was also a specific cultural reference in the source, the date, December 21st.
Yes, the longest night, or Sebi Yelda.
They mentioned breaking a pomegranate.
It's a lovely tradition for abundance. But in the context of this deep dive, they view dates like the New Year or the solstice, not just as calendar changes, but as symbolic portals. It's a psychological reset button. It's a moment where the collective consciousness agrees, okay, we are starting fresh. And you can ride that massive energy wave.
I love that. Use the collective placebo effect. If millions of people believe the energy is shifting, then for all intents and purposes, the energy is shifting.
Exactly. You are leveraging the macro collapse of the wave.
We're coming to the end here, and I want to zoom out to the ultimate perspective. The source uses one final analogy that really ties this all together nicely. The pixelated screen.
This is the view from the mountaintop. They compare life to a TV screen.
When you're up close?
When you are nose to the glass, involved in the drama, you see the picture. You see the scary monster, the cheating partner, the empty bank account. It looks solid. It looks terrifying. You are sweating.
But when you step back.
When you become the observer, you see the pixels. You see that the scary monster is just dots of light. It's just information. It has no inherent power over you.
And this leads to their boldest claim about distance.
They claim that if you walk away from the screen, meaning if you completely remove your attention from a problem, the image disappears.
Like literally disappears.
Literally. They argue that if you remove your focus from a problem, it ceases to exist in your dimension. It dissolves back into the quantum wave function. It requires your active observation to maintain its existence.
That is terrifyingly empowering. It means I am keeping my problems alive by obsessing over them.
That is the core message of their entire philosophy. And that's why the end goal isn't the car or the house.
It's peace. Huzur.
Becoming the one who knows. Someone who doesn't get tossed around by life, but watches it with amusement and acceptance. You watch the movie, you eat your popcorn, but you don't scream at the screen.
So, to synthesize this deep dive, we are living in a holographic mirror world.
Where our internal state dictates the external movie.
The others are us.
The problems are just feedback mechanisms.
And we are the projector, not the screen.
Precisely.
Well, this has been an absolute journey, but before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final, provocative thought from the source. It's the concept of the empty room.
It's the thought that really lingers long after you stop reading.
If you left the room you are in right now, walk out the door, close it behind you, does the room still exist? Or does it dissolve back into energy waves, just waiting for you to return and observe it back into solidity?
Are you brave enough to test the idea that nothing exists until you look at it?
Think about that as you walk through your world today. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.